My sister fed my dog chocolate because he ripped her new shirt, so I made her terrified of eating for life. You ever have a sibling who could do no wrong? That was Lindsay, my younger sister and the golden child who got away with everything. Shoplifting at 15, getting teachers fired over fake assault accusations, pushing me down the stairs and tearing my ACL. Mom and dad just wrote checks and made excuses. They'd say she's finding herself, while I got grounded for B+ grades. I learned early that in this house I was invisible, just the practice kid they messed up before perfecting their parenting with Lindsay. When I turned 18, I got a job at a shelter and adopted Biscuit, a golden retriever mix with floppy ears and half a tail. The shelter warned he'd been returned twice for being too needy. Perfect, I thought. We needed each other. Biscuit became my everything, waiting by my door every morning and curling against my legs every night. When anxiety attacks hit, he'd rest his head on my chest until my breathing slowed. For the first time in that house, I felt seen. Lindsay noticed the change immediately and started calling him Fleabag, mutt, waste of space. But her words bounced off me now because I had Biscuit. That's when she escalated. One Tuesday, Mom bought Lindsay a $300 Versace shirt, white silk with gold buttons, and Lindsay wore it everywhere, even to breakfast. 3 days later, Mom did laundry, and the washing machine made grinding noises. The shirt ended up torn with a huge rip where it caught in the agitator. Mom panicked and hid it in the garage, but Lindsay found it. The dog destroyed my shirt, she screamed, holding the mangled fabric. He's been with me all morning, I said. She smiled, not her fake Instagram smile, but something darker. Watch your back. 2 days later, I was at school taking a statistics exam when Lindsay texted Mom about period cramps and got picked up after first period. When I got home at 3 p.m., Biscuit was on the kitchen floor, barely breathing with brown foam around his mouth. Lindsay sat at the counter, filing her nails. Guess he got into something, she said. Dogs are so stupid. I dropped to my knees as Biscuit's eyes found mine, clouded with pain. His tail tried to wag but failed. What did you do? She shrugged. I didn't do anything, but you know, chocolates everywhere. Easter candy, brownies, so easy for a dumb mutt to find. I screamed for Mom and begged her to drive us to the vet. I'm not wasting gas on your mutt, she said. You wanted the dog, so take responsibility. I called an Uber with my last $20 and held Biscuit in the back seat, feeling his heartbeat slow. The vet tried everything. Induced vomiting, IV fluids, activated charcoal, but it was too late. He died at 6:23 p.m. with his paw in my hand. I didn't cry then. Something else filled that space. Cold, patient, familiar. The vet tech Jenny had gone to my school and recognized something in my face. She slipped me a business card and whispered, my cousin's a chemistry major, if you ever need to know about interactions. I spent 3 months researching ipecac, zinc sulfate, copper sulfate, and natural emetics. These were substances that induced nausea, altered taste, and created food aversions, all legal and traceable to common sources. I spent 3 months researching ipecac, zinc sulfate, copper sulfate, and natural emetics, all substances that induced violent nausea, destroyed taste buds, created permanent food aversions, all legal and traceable to common sources. The plan formed slowly around Lindsay's predictable routines. Vanilla lattes every morning, sushi Fridays, Sunday smoothies. It started small with ipecac in her latte. She projectile vomited during her Instagram live. Next came zinc in her smoothie, making everything taste like rotting metal and blood for days. Week 3, I switched her toothpaste with a compound that made everything taste like sewage and decay. She couldn't eat without violently gagging, dry heaving until her ribs ached. Doctors found nothing. Week 5 brought copper in her sushi soy sauce. She had explosive diarrhea, severe dehydration, vomiting blood, and lost 15 pounds in 4 days. She looked like death. By week 8, I mixed everything. Her morning latte became a cocktail of hell that made her smell food and convulse. Her body violently rejected everything while doctors ran frantic tests that came back normal. Mom took her to specialists, holistic healers, hypnotists. Nothing worked. She dropped to 90 pounds, moved to liquid diets, then IV nutrition. One night, she was too weak to close her door. I walked in, sat beside her bed. She looked up, eyes sunken, lips cracked. Why? She whispered. I leaned close and smiled her smile, the dark one. Guess you got into something. Humans are so stupid. Her eyes widened with understanding and terror. But you know, I continued. Karma's everywhere. Easter candy, brownies, so easy for a spoiled brat to find. I left her with that knowledge, that every meal, every sip, every bite for the rest of her life would carry fear. She'd never know what was safe or trust food again. It's been 2 years. She lives on supplements now with a feeding tube when it gets bad. Instagram's abandoned while she spends her days in therapy, trying to explain a trauma no one believes. As for me, I volunteer at the shelter working with abused dogs. I teach them to trust again and eat without fear. There's a portrait of Biscuit in my apartment, and I tell every dog I save about the boy who wagged his tail until the very end. Some say revenge is pointless, that it doesn't bring back what you've lost. They're right, Biscuit is still gone. But every time Lindsay flinches at the smell of coffee or stares at food she'll never taste again, I remember his last moments, the confusion in his eyes, the trust I couldn't protect. She took my best friend over a shirt, so I took her ability to live without fear.